Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're never going to see him again.
You must be out of your goddamn mind.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Fumbling Through the Galaxy. I'm your host, Severus Snape. Today we're going to have a look at a fantastic Sideshow Mythos Star Wars statue of none other than Darth Maul. And the reason why I'm really excited about this statue, it is actually has an alternate head sculpt as seen in Clone Wars. And so we know that, of course, Maul survived the events of Phantom Menace. We know that he tapped into the dark side in order to sustain his rage and anger against the Jedi and specifically Obi-Wan Kenobi in order to stay alive. And in this statue, we actually get a head sculpt that captures the look that we see in Clone Wars, which, of course, as you know, is absolutely my jam, as Clone Wars is, for me, the best Star Wars content out there. So let's get to the table. Let's have a look at this statue. Let's talk a little bit about Maul pre and post Clone Wars and whether or not we can look forward to anything upcoming with Maul, which I think we can. Let's get to the table. Okay, so here we are at the table. Here is once again Star Wars Darth Maul. Mythos is brought to you by the Sideshow team. Um, and again, just absolutely nailing these Mythos statues. I've shown you guys the Kenobi. I've shown you the Darth Vader. I've shown you the Ahsoka. I've shown you the Darth Talon. I mean, it just they simply don't miss with these. And this is another great example. So here, of course, you've got the short horn version, which is once, of course, he's been restored to his former self. And we also get, as I said earlier, we get the long horn version, which is the version that we get when, of course, he is discovered again by his brother Savage Opress, as seen in the Clone Wars. So before we open the box, of course, just want to loop everybody or catch everybody up if you're new to this version of Darth Maul, specifically if you're unfamiliar with the Clone Wars story arc. So essentially, after Darth Maul was defeated by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Kenobi, of course, cleaves him in half, he loses his legs, he's left for dead. It turns out that he actually sustained his life by tapping into the dark side and festering his absolute hatred of the Jedi and Obi-Wan Kenobi in order to stay alive up to the events of the Clone Wars, and by doing so, of course, loses his mind.
You have been lost, my brother. Do you remember who you are? Where you came from?
And so, as Savage Opress finds him in the, cave, and then, of course, with the mechanical spider legs, we quickly realize that Darth Maul isn't all there.
Your legs. That scum! He took them from me! He took them!
Although he still taps into that anger of the Jedi, he has, for all intents and purposes, lost sight of who he was and who he is, and certainly it's coming to him in a very fragmented way. We then, of course, eventually get to see Mother Townsend, and she brings him back and also helps restore his legs into the proper mechanical legs that we see eventually in the rest of the Clone Wars. All right, so let's open this and let's talk a little bit more about Darth Maul. So something that I want to mention before we open him out of his styro is this is actually completely sealed. And what's cool about this was actually a piece that I picked up at auction. So if you're someone who has ever wondered about going onto these auction sites and bidding for collectibles or anything like that, and you're kind of suspicious, the good thing you get about auction and of course auctioneers is they have to validate not only the provenance but also obviously the quality of the material, depending on what I say provenance if you're looking at art or certain things that require provenance, or in this case make sure that the collectible is as they represent. And so what's really cool about this is when I bought it at auction, it actually did not indicate that it was completely unsealed. I thought this may have been pre-owned, but this was actually came from a personal collection, and it looks like, well, I know because the seal is completely untouched. Um, this was never opened. So yeah, so an unexpected surprise, and yet another validation of not being afraid to find your collectibles maybe in different ways than you normally would. Okay, let's have them. Let's open them. Okay, so I mean, here's the box open. We can see that you've got the body, the base. It looks like we have a cape, the alternate heads, the arms, the lightsaber. So yeah, I mean, it's all there. It's all brand new. It's all well packaged as always, as it comes to Sideshow. And now we're going to put this guy together and talk a little more Darth Maul. So here's the base, and I mean, come on, this is so cool. That is Darth Sidious coming out of the rock. So I wasn't expecting that. Probably should have looked a little closer at the base when I was looking at the product, but I don't really care. I mean, this is just an awesome, unexpected surprise. So we see this is a great face sculpt of Sidious. Um, you know, super great texture. Here we get, of course, the number. So here we have 1314 of 4500 Mythos. Again, Sideshow just always hitting it out of the park with their stuff. I mean, what an awesome base, man. So of course, we know that Darth Maul was, adopted by Sidious. He was trained by Sidious. He was absolutely tortured and punished by Sidious. He was, for all intents and purposes, considered just an assassin and someone who's completely disposable, which is why even during the rule of two, Plagueis was completely okay with Sidious having Darth Maul as one of his apprentices, because at no point did they either one of them ever think that Darth Maul would be anointed, which in time, as we learn in that great Mandalorian arc in Clone Wars, that Darth Maul comes to realize, and in fact, it wasn't his manifest destiny, that it was in fact Anakin Skywalker's manifest destiny to become Darth Sidious's apprentice.
He has long been groomed for his role as my master's new apprentice.
And so, that's the base. What a fantastic base. What a great tie-in to the Clone Wars series. And again, Sideshow absolutely killing it. All right, let's pull out the rest. Pull it out, man. Okay, so here he is out of box, assembled. Listen, Sideshow does a great job of providing you videos that you can Google easily. They walk you through the entire setup when you're setting one of these up. It's always good to go through it. Don't assume you know where everything fits. Remember, at the end of the day, you've paid a lot of money for these statues. You want to make sure, of course, you don't break anything. Anybody who watched my Darth Vader video with the flaming lightsaber knows, the pain of that, and certainly, hopefully, understands the pain of that. So essentially, here you've got one key at the foot. You've got three keys for the flying wardrobe. I mean, they call it a skirt, but really it's a robe. And then you essentially have the right hand and left hand holding the dual lightsaber as the other keys. And then you've got your alternate head sculpts. So, as I said earlier, what's really, the reason why I really love this particular iteration is the two different head sculpts that you get. One being this awesome Maul from, as seen in the Clone Wars, when Savage Opress finds him and he's got these overgrown horns because he's just been mad for so long and left to die. And the only thing sustaining him, of course, is the dark side. And so this is really, a great head sculpt. And then you've got the second head sculpt, the second portrait, which is, of course, the more modern, or as we know him, the Maul with the short horns, as we know he then is given. So, I'm actually going to go with the longer horns. I kind of like that look. As you guys know, as I said in my preamble, I'm a huge Clone Wars guy, so for me, that's kind of the mall that I most enjoy. It's certainly the mall that um, I go back and watch time and time again, and again see just a beautifully easy magnetic key. So again, let's talk mall. This is the statue assembled. It's fantastic. Talk a little bit about what we saw. So as you know, in the Clone Wars, we see him get discovered by Savage Opress. We talked about that. We see his legs get reassembled by Mother Townsend, as well as his memory being brought back. We talked a little bit about that. We see that, of course, he comes to understand that, in fact, Anakin Skywalker has been chosen as the apprentice. So we see that fantastic arc of Mandalore scene with him and Ahsoka. And then, of course, we see, we see him die essentially, eventually in Rebels. So, what's upcoming for Darth Maul? Well, it turns out that Disney is actually in the tradition of their recent animated shows, Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, and Tales of the Underground. They're actually doing a Darth Maul series. And that series specifically is actually going to concentrate, I believe, from what I understand, on Maul during the Crimson Dawn era. So that means that's obviously um, Clone Wars, and then post Clone Wars, and then pre pre BBY1, so pre Andor, and that's the time frame that we're going to see him in. So we're going to see him as he is by Crimson Dawn, leading the crime syndicate of Crimson Dawn, which we get a flavor for in season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Peace moving in this mechanism which I have designed, and yet when you falter.
And then we also get a shot of that in the Solo movie.
Where is the shipment?
So yeah, I think we're not done. They're bringing back the original voice actor. I think this is somebody who understands the character. I think this is one of people's favorite characters. I think Darth Maul was criminally underutilized in Phantom Menace. I think he got his due deserts, his due, his deserved, his justice, due justice. Yeah, okay, we'll say that in the Clone Wars and Rebels. And I think, listen, there's more story to be told there, and I think there's a good story to be told there. So I, for one, am very excited about the Disney stuff that's coming. So what do you think? What do you think of this Mythos statue? Do you own any Mythos statues? Do you own this statue? What are you looking to get Mythos wise? And is this something that you would be interested in? What do you think of Darth Maul? Is it one of your favorite Siths? One of your favorite stories? Should he have stayed dead? Are you okay that he's come back? As usual, like, subscribe, share. Catch us live every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the troopers. And by troopers, I mean myself, Frank Dumont, Roughshod, Graybeard, and Lady Virgo. I always leave a link in the description. Also, we've got a lot of great guests that have been coming by. We call them the Bounty Hunters. So we've had Shane from Same Time Toys. We've had Woody, of course, 222 from Woody in the Basement. And I mean, if you want to talk a collector and a mega collector, Woody is your guy. Some really great stuff there. We've had Tony from Legend Series and his wonderful spouse, Fox. We've had Action Figure Addict. Anyway, the list goes on and on and on of all the great people we've had, and more people to come, hopefully. So join us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, usually on Friday nights from Tales from the Outer Rim, where we talk about Mythos statues and a whole bunch of other collectibles that we all like. Anything from Joe to Star Wars to Transformers to whatever it is, we're trying to cover it. We're trying to talk about it because we all love to collect. And it doesn't matter what you like what you like, and don't ever be ashamed of what you like, and collect what you want. And if you love something and you have no hate for it, that's perfectly fine. That's something that I very much, I very much would always look at the positive, because I understand that, what, it can go away at any time. And if somebody who collects, be grateful that we live in an era where, this is, to me, the golden era of collecting. So let's enjoy it while it lasts. We never know when it'll stop, and we never know when we may or may not be here. So enjoy every day you have too. Happy 2026. Wishing everybody the very best for the upcoming year. Peace on earth, love, all that stuff. May the force be with you always. And until the next time, be well and be kind to one another.